Hello, class, and welcome to Module 3. In the old section, it was week 3, but now we use modules. So whether your class says weeks or modules, know that it's the same thing, okay? So what I want to do first is share the screen. Okay. And so in the classroom, we're looking at the lab instructions. So you're going to click on the lab instructions. And again, your class may say module 3 instead of week 3, but it is the same thing. And so you want to click on that. And when you click on that, it's going to come up as a download. It's going to do a pop-up as a download. So make sure that you have enabled pop-ups so that you can get the instructions. And so the instructions are actually over here. I've already done the download. And for this lab, we are working with water filtration. So what I want to do each week is to go through the lab and go through the materials that you'll be using for the lab. I also like to go through make some pointers if there's something that I have as a suggestion as you're doing the lab. And also I like to go through how you do your safety, what the safety is for the lab and the cleanup. I also like to go through how to actually write your lab report, type up your lab report for this particular lab or for each lab that I do for the video. So first of all, this is our first lab, actual lab work that we're doing for this particular class. And it is an observations lab. So it's very important that you write down all of your observations and you are very descriptive. Okay. The safety disclaimer, do not taste the water you filter. Very important because we are filtering it, but we are not filtering it according to the standards that a water treatment facility would filter it. And so it is not potable water. Okay. We do not want to drink it. Okay. You will learn in this class that filtration is only one step of the process to purify water for drinking purposes. Therefore, the water you are filtering is not purified to be consumed. Very important. And it's very important for each of these labs that you will be doing, that you follow all safety guidelines. Okay. And so for this lab, we will be looking at this particular YouTube video. This shows you how to set up the filtration. Okay. And so you want to click on this to open it. And so you would hit Control and then click on it and it'll open up the video. Okay. And of course, with most YouTube videos, you have to go through the commercial. Okay. So you want to skip through that. All right. And so for this video, I am going to fast forward it a bit because I just want to show you. It goes through a lot about filtration and water and all of that, but I do want to show you how you're setting up your filtration. Okay. Instead of a jar, you could also use the bottle. All right, so this is how you would set up the filtration. Okay, there's a couple of ways that you can do it for your bottle. Okay, you can use a bottle that has the cap and poke a hole in the cap, or you can use one of those pop top bottles that it shows in the video as well, and that allows it to just drain out slowly. Okay, or you can not use the cap at all and just let it drain out. It will drain out a lot faster if you don't use the cap or a pinhole in the cap or something, but it will work just the same. Okay. So going back to the course. All right. So that was your safety. And this tells you a little bit more information about what you'll be doing. But here are the needed supplies, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can show you these supplies. So you're going to use a bottle, okay? And this is a 1 liter bottle. Got it from Dollar Tree. A lot of the supplies that I got for this lab, I got from Dollar Tree. So there's just your water bottle. This is your glass jar. You do want it to be glass and you do want it to have screw and lid, okay? So this is a mason jar. that I got, one of the canning jars. I got a box of them. You're going to use seven of these. I just got a box of, I think, 12. It comes in a box of 12. You can also get these at Dollar Tree. Depending on the Dollar Tree, I have seen these at Dollar Tree with the screw-on cap. Very important that it's a screw-on cap and that it's a glass jar, okay? And that's going to be so that the plastic jars tend to react, okay, with the water, and we don't want that to throw off our results for next week when we actually do the testing, okay, of our water. So you want a glass jar. You're going to need food coloring. You're only going to need one drop. It says one drop of red food coloring. If you don't have red, it can be any color. That's not important. It's just important that it's a color that you can see, okay? Because we want to see if your filter is filtering out the color, all right? So you need food coloring. Measuring cups, okay? It can be any kind of measuring cup, but as long as it's a measuring cup, all right? Coffee filters, you're gonna need your coffee filters, cotton balls. You're gonna use charcoal, okay? So I have this bag of charcoal. You just need a couple of briskets that you're going to cut into small pieces, so you don't need a big bag of charcoal. And it doesn't need to be a name brand. You want sponges, but you do not want the sponges that have the little scrubby thing on it because you need it to filter through. So you just need a plain sponge. Okay? You're going to use some sand. The sand does come with the kit. Okay, so you do need some of the sand, and these bag of rocks, they also come in the kit. Okay, so you will need that. You'll need a pair of scissors. Okay, and you can use a ruler and a marker. So those are just other things that you may need as you're going through the lab. So I'm gonna go back to sharing my screen to get back to the instructions. Okay, so these are the list of what you need. All right. And so this is why we need that food coloring, because you're going to make some dirty water. Okay. So you're going to take 10 cups of water and a half a cup of dirt and a drop of food coloring. Remember, I asked for red, but it could be any color. You want to mix all the ingredients and store them in a clear container. Okay. Just so that when you are using it for the experiment that you have the water that you need. Your glass jar, I forgot to mention, needs to hold at least 2 cups of water. So that's the size that you need. You don't need the really large jars for that. All right, but you do want to keep some of your leftover dirty water in a glass jar and label it for week two's lab experiment. Well, it's actually week four, okay, or module four's experiment, but it's next week's experiment. All right. So now this is your filtering material. In column A, you have the cotton balls, the coffee filters, and the sponge. In column B, you have the sand, the rocks, and the charcoal. Remember, the charcoal, you want it broken into pieces. Charcoal is pretty firm, so you may have to chop it up with a hammer, okay, or a meat tenderizer or a rolling pin, okay, any of that to kind of beat it into pieces. All right, and so here are the instructions. One thing I do want to mention is that you want to measure approximately 2 to 3 inches of the filtering material. And so in your bottle, okay, so 2 to 3 inches about here in the bottle, but you can use your ruler to measure that. But you want to make sure that you've measured 2 to 3 inches. That's important for the filtration process. It doesn't have to be exactly 2 or exactly 3, but in that range, we're good. Okay. All right. And so then this are the directions, and it explains to you very detailed on what you want to do. Okay. So I'm not going to go through those. I'll let you read through those and follow that information. I do want to go through the observations that you're going to do. So for table one, you're going to use each of these three filters and you're going to write down your observations on how well it did with the water. Each time you're saving your filtered water and you're labeling in the jar. Okay. For column two, now you're going to pick something from column A, something from column B. Then you're going to choose something different for column A and something different from column B. You're going to write down those observations. but both column A and column B's choice is going to be in one filter, okay? Very important. Then you're going to go to table 3, where you're going to choose one thing from column A. You need to place all three of these from column B into your filter, all right? And then you're going to write down your observations. Your column A, if it's paired up with the B, it always goes first, okay? When you're setting up your filter, very important. Your column A is always going to go first, then your column B. And here, column A is going to go first in the filter, then you add your column B. Which order you add these, I'll leave that up to you. But you want to write down what order you put column B in, okay? So important you do that. Then we have our discussion questions. So, number 1, based on your observations in table 1, which filter works better to filter the impurities added to the water? Why did you choose this filter? Okay. Number 2, what was your thought process in making the choices for the filtration system chosen in table 2? Number 3, based on your observations in Table 2, which filtration system works better to filter the impurities added to the water? What was the evidence that this filtration system did a better job? And then for number 4, for table 3, you chose a filter from column A. Which filter did you choose? Did your observations from table 1 and 2 influence your decisions? And what results did you expect would happen when choosing this filter? Did you get the results that you expected? All right. And then your references, because you always want to have a reference page. So you have 2 references for this particular lab. Your one of your references is this actual worksheet. Okay. You retrieve this worksheet from a website. Here, it's going to tell you, if you click on here, this will show you, and this is another way you can do that. It'll show you how to reference a document that's retrieved from a website, okay? The other reference that you're going to use is that YouTube video. So you're going to go in here or here to find out how to reference a YouTube video. So those are your 2 references. If you had another reference that you picked for this particular lab, you'll add that there, okay? But you need at least 2 for this particular lab. So how do we do our lab report? Okay, so I'm going to open up a blank document. And we're going to add it here. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is I'm going to move, first of all, I'm going to move all of our lab stuff out of the way so I can type. All right. So the first thing you want is your title page. Okay. So your title page, you want to be centered. So you're going to center that. And you want it centered in the page as well. So you want to scroll down a bit. Okay. Go up a little bit more. All right, and so what you want is the title of the lab, which is, in this case, is water filtration. And then you want to write your name, okay? And then you want to do the class, which is ESC 101, and its section is 20101. And then you want to do the date, okay? Which I'm going to put today's date, which is August the 26th, 2025. Okay. So that's all you do for your title page. Now you want to go to the next page. Okay. In the next page, you want to change, we don't want it centered anymore. Now we want it to be aligned along the left side of your page. And you want to do your introduction. Okay. In your introduction, so all this information is the introduction, but you don't want to copy and paste it because that would be considered plagiarism. And so what you want to do is you want to take this information and write it in your own words. You want to talk about what you are doing for this particular experiment and write that in your words based on this information. Okay? So once you've done that, then the next thing is the materials and procedures. Okay? For materials and procedures, that would be all of this information, all of your materials, your procedure for making dirty water, and your actual lab procedure. But again, we do not want to plagiarize, so we are not going to copy and paste. We're going to take this information that's listed here and we are going to write it in our own words in paragraph form. Very important because these are listed as lists and then numbered steps, but we want to take all of this and put it in paragraph form. So, for example, the needed supplies. You would write, for this lab, we use the following supplies, or we use 7 glass jars, 1 plastic bottle, scissors, measuring cup, and we use rocks, but we use small and medium pieces of rocks. We had to make sure that we took the charcoal from the bag and we broke it up into pieces using a hammer. So you want to write that in sentences, okay? Very important. All right. So the next part is your results. Okay, so your results section. In the results section, this is the only time in this lab report you can copy and paste because you need these 3 tables to be in this results section. So you can copy and paste into the results section. So you would highlight it. All right, and you would copy, and then you go over to your results section over here and you would paste it. Okay. And then in the observations is where you're going to type in your observations. Okay. And you'll do the same thing for table 2 and table 3. Okay. So you want to make sure those are in here. The other thing that would go in the results section, if you took pictures for the lab and you wanted to include the pictures of your setup, of your jars, if you want to take pictures of the different filtration systems, then you would add it to the results section. Okay. And then the other thing that's not in this lab, but you may have it in future labs, is calculations. Your calculations would go in the results section as well. So once you've put in your 3 charts, okay, the next thing is your discussion. All right, so discussions. All right, so these questions here you're going to put in the discussion section. But again, this is a lab report, so we do not want to number the questions and then write answers. No, we want to answer these questions in paragraph form. You do not need to copy the questions over to your report. You are going to write it as if you're discussing to me what your results are, okay? And so you are going to treat this discussion section as a conversation you are having with me about your results for this particular experiment. Okay, so that's how you want to write it. So you're going to answer these questions based on the fact that this is a discussion. We're talking back and forth through your written work. Okay, very important. And so you want complete sentences. So I know based on your sentence that you are telling me what is going on in table 1. Okay, you're going to reference table 1. In table 1, I found that in doing all of these different filters, using all these different filters, that one of the filters, this is just an example, cotton balls was the best because I found these observations, or cotton balls was the worst because of these observations. So that's how you want to handle the answering of these questions. Okay, very important. All right. So then the last section for your paper is the references. All right. Very important with your references, it's on its own separate page. It's not mingling with the other pages. All right, so we want it on its own separate page. And remember, we are doing two. We are doing two references. There can be more, but you need at least two, okay? References. And so that is how you want to do your lab report. Remember, your references are APA style. It's the YouTube video and the instructions that are retrieved from the website of your Canvas page, okay? So you're going to look up how to reference both of those, all right? So once you've completed all this, then you're ready to submit it, all right? And so when you're ready to submit it now, we are going back to the course and you submit it here. So you're going to click on here, and it's not going to show up in mine because I'm a professor, but when you click on this, you should see a drop box and a submit button. If you do not, please let me know. Okay, very important because you want to make sure that you submit it here. Okay, and then I'll be able to grade it and so forth. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Other thing that I do want to mention before I end this video is I want to go over something that's also very important, which is disposal and cleanup. All right. With all the labs, we tell you how to properly dispose of your lab materials and how to clean up. So I will go through that in your videos. So very important that we pay attention to that. All right. So the first step, place the 7 jars of your filtered water. Okay. So that's your glass jars. Make sure they are labeled. Okay. Which filter you used, as you want to put which filter you used, and also that this is the water filtration lab. Okay. So you want to label that properly and put a date on it as well. All right. And so you want to place these jars in a refrigerator to save for our week 4 or our module 4 lab analysis. Very important that it's refrigerated. When we are in a lab analyst for water filtration, kind of a setup. Okay, we do refrigerate our samples. We keep them at certain temperatures depending on the type of sample. For this particular lab, putting it in the refrigerator, the refrigerator's normal temperature is perfect for this lab. But it's important because the results that we get from our test are altered if our samples are not at the correct temperature. Okay, so for this lab, it does need to be refrigerated, but make sure you label it properly because we don't want anybody in your household to accidentally mistake your filtered dirty water for something yummy to drink. Okay, and so we don't want anybody getting sick or accidentally drinking your water. Okay, so very important that you label this properly and let everybody in your household know, hey, I got some jars in the refrigerator. Do not drink those. That's for my lab experiment for my class. Okay, so let them know that. So you want to make sure that the jars are closed tightly and properly labeled. Make sure they are stored away from those who would try to drink the water. We don't want anybody drinking the water, okay? We want to throw away all the filtration setups and any leftover filter materials. So that's any leftover that has been used, okay? We want to throw it away. But if it's unused, like if you have some filters left over, don't throw those away. We keep those, okay? Cotton balls, if we have leftover cotton balls, don't throw them away, keep them, okay? But the ones that are used, those are used, very important. The ones that are used, you want to throw away. Okay, so then you want to sanitize your workstation with a surface disinfectant. Here's a video on how to disinfect the surface and also how to make your own surface disinfectant. If you want to make it, go by this video. If you have some Lysol spray at home, or if you have some a Clorox spray at home, simply just spray some and wipe down your counter area, okay, the surface area that you use to do the experiment. You do not have to make your own, okay, if you have those. And then you want to wash your hands thoroughly. For this particular lab, I know we worked with dirt and water, food coloring, nothing harmful, okay, per se. But we want to get in the habit of cleaning our surfaces and washing our hands. We want to do this after every lap. Okay, very important that you do that. All right. And so, again, if you have questions as you're going through this lab, please let me know. Have a great day. Bye bye.